All right, here we go. First of all, with all of the people who have worked on the Elemental Church's visioning process, the names you see up here, those of you that are in the room, would you please stand? Let everyone see your faces. We have a couple who aren't here today, one of them being Karen, who is serving now as the executive director of the Legal Aid Society of the Bluegrass. Am I getting that right, Louisa? Yes. And so she's in Washington, D.C. today. But she planned to be here. So this is the team, and here is all the things we did to come to where we are today. Part of this stems from, we had things that we were doing, and they have been interrupted. And who we were 3 years ago is not who we are now. The world has changed, and recognition is that we as a church are being called to change with it. And part of what we're looking at then is some of these things you're going to see, as Pepper will tell you, committees were starting to work on them and are looking forward to picking them up again. Part of them are simply intrinsic to who we are. And that's part of what we're going to be going through. But it shows you that we actually started on this. It was in January, wasn't it, Chris? That we started right after the holidays. So we've been working on this for 9 months now, and are, I'll use the word, joyous to be sharing it with you. And we hope that you greet it with joy as well. Next slide. We start with who we say we're going to be in our bylaws, with the formation of this church. And a lot of you are familiar with it, but for some of the newer members and the younger members, you may not be. We're called by God and organized to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ, to minister to the needs of the congregation and residents of the community, and to promote peace and justice in the world. That's our statement of purpose. But then we have, guess what you would call the next slide, please? Our mission statement. And most of you do know this: our worship, learn, and serve as a Christ-centered community. But then we had the Joel Committee's vision, and feeding body and soul, engaging friends and strangers, growing deep and wide in Christ. And we reviewed these and talked about these, and we said, but this is good. We don't need to add a new thing. We just need to help make this happen. So, building upon the principles, we came up with, well, what are our core values? What are the things that should be guiding us as we make a plan for the next couple of years? And we said community, compassion, learning, outward focus, and worship. These are key things that represent who we are and who we have become over the years. And these are gifts that we want to share with our community and the broader world, but also significantly here in Northern Kentucky. Okay? So, how do we take this and put it together into an action plan? And the key to an action plan is it says, this is how we're going to do it. And this is who's going to reach out to the various committees and people so that it happens. And by the way, we're going to set goals, numeric goals, to make sure that we are achieving what we want to achieve. And we're also going to have people who will be the champions and time frames for it. So this is a real action plan for us to work to become, I don't think this is trite, to become the best that we can be. Okay? Our first goal is we're going to create and maintain bread for the journey through the rhythm of worship that allows us to be fully present with God and each other. Bread for the journey. You've been hearing that a lot. Now, how do we do that besides listen to Louisa's message? Strategy number one. Well, for one thing, we keep our 11 o'clock service with all its glorious components of worship. But we also keep the streaming because we have a building number. It continues to grow, as Pete will attest. It continues to grow of people who are coming to our services. It may be family members for some of you, but in some instances, it's even people who they simply found us, but they continue to come to us through the online worship services. Okay? So you can see that one. It's okay, Chris. Go ahead. They can read while I talk. Strategy number two. We want to expand beyond that. And we want to do things as a congregation, but also do things. I'm chasing a mosquito here, in case you're wondering. This isn't to emphasize anything. It's to get the mosquito out of my face. Okay? So this is worship committee will, we hope, be fully embracing this. Chris will be working with it. You can see our timeline. Then we're talking about experimenting more with our online worship tools. You've enjoyed our things that we have done for Advent, things that we do as we prepare for Easter. And we're saying, but there's other ways we can do this and bring this to you, to our members who are at home and not able to come to worship, and to the broader community as well. Next, we'll go to the next strategy. The next goal. Improving how we welcome one another and others, and integrating all into our community. We greet each other really pretty well, but what happens is we're so busy greeting each other and catching up with each other that sometimes we don't notice new faces and encourage them and welcome them. And we're saying, maybe we need to work a little harder at this and look at some new ways to do it. And so this vibe activity is one in which we're going to be asking some members of the congregation to do some role playing, take a script, and actually look at it through the eyes of someone else. Susan's going to be working on that, and she'll probably be reaching out to some of you to ask if you'll help. But we're going to be working on that to come up with some ways at looking at new ways at looking at how we welcome people when they show up at the back door as well as the front door. Okay? Strategy number two. Hey, we've got a fabulous kitchen here, right? It really is. And we were planning to use it, and then we didn't get to use it, so we're going to use it, not just for ourselves, but for others as well, to foster community partnerships. Next, it's okay. Regular congregational dinners again. Chances for us to actually share food, bread, conversation, love, warmth, fellowship. And ensuring 50% or more of us are engaged in a small group. And I want to clarify that because we've got small groups. We've got wonderful small groups. We've got book club, we've got elderberries, we've got circles. But the idea is it isn't just an affinity, things you have in common, but it's also taking your faith deeper and praying for others. Not just the people in your group, but praying for others. Because prayer is an important part of who we are. Prayer is an important part of relationship with God, in community and individually. Goal number 3, we'll share, watch out for this one, your skills and knowledge and talents to uplift people's lives. And we have what we think are some unusual or at least new strategies for doing that. Okay? We want to work with you on some outward-focused programs. They may be things that would be of interest to members of the congregation. We'll be doing some surveying to find that. But it also may be getting together to learn new skills that then you can use to help others. And it may be doing things such as putting together classes using talents and networks that some of you participate in for others. Things such as, how does one become a citizen in the United States? Do you know how? But while many of us are, there are some members of our congregation or potentially within our community who don't. And so we can help them become by pointing them in the right direction, offering some classes. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like English as a second language, but it could be. But it also have to do with sewing and quilting and knitting and making things for other people. And it can be learning good nutrition and how to cook in more healthy fashions. There's just so many things, and many of you have those skills, including how to better speak, how to become deeper in your prayer life and in meditation. So it just gives you some examples of what we could do. Nothing like 12 classes a year with tests, or 12 classes a semester with tests, but maybe 3 or 4 classes, special sessions, special interests, okay? Then we have to, of course, pull it together and coordinate when those can happen. And the third strategy is also, we have to market it. And a lot of that marketing, yes, it can be done with posters and by sharing through news at church and one thing and another, but we can also do a lot online as well. And then developing and launching, this is a new concept really, a concierge team. This would be putting together some groups of people who would be available by email or maybe coming and being available, present, one evening a month to help people find the resources they need, whether it's help with raising children, new skills, whether it's what should I do. I know I live a few blocks away, but I'm dealing with an abusive spouse. I don't know what to do, and we can point them to those community agencies that are able to. We know who they are, and we can help connect them to the kinds of help that they need. Then, goal 4, we actually had to add a 5th strategy for this one as well. We thought we could do 4 goals, 4 strategies, and this one we thought, ooh, this is a little bit bigger. But positioning Lakeside to attain organizational and financial stability so that we can fulfill our missions, so we can achieve these goals. 1 is a sustainable staffing model, getting what we need in order to do all of this. And we're already trying some really exciting concepts, such as sharing, a youth minister. No one else is doing this right now, but we are here in Northern Kentucky, and we're serving as an example, potentially a model for the presbytery as we experiment with some of these things. Strategy number 2, the Horizon Initiative gives us the financial support. It helps us move into cash flow that would let us do these things. We want to maintain our building, our facility. It is the centerpiece of what we're talking about doing. But it also costs a lot. So we're looking at how can we make these improvements and protect our organ and protect the investment that we have in this community, and yet even broaden then what we do with this wonderful facility. Okay? We know that there are grant monies and opportunities. We've already talked a little bit about the cost sharing out there. And so we're looking for some people who can investigate what might be appropriate for us, where we could fit in and where there might be funding available that will help us. Back one. Oh, no, that's right. We switched them. Excuse me. And then also, we'll go to the next one. That's the one we just did. Streamlining ways to share our facilities. I was overwhelmed, genuinely, when I saw the calendar that Heather keeps and the number of people who do use the building, and trying to keep track of that, and also what's involved in with the maintenance, etc. And so we'll look at ways to better manage that process for everybody. And the last one is updating our organizational structure. And that, it's a case of, so we have so many committees, but some of the things could overlap. That overlap can then be maybe combined. And we have some people that are working really hard, and they're getting tired, and they'd like a little help. And so we need to build depth in our leadership. And so there's a whole series of things that could come into this so that we make the best use of everyone's time, including our youth, who are immensely talented and have a tremendous amount of energy. But there's also a lot of older members who have a lot of energy and want to give as well. So it's finding the right thing for the right people, but not stretching anyone too thin. And so that actually is important. If we're going to achieve these things, if we're going to make meaningful progress and in becoming who we say we want to be and what we want to do, then it's all wrapped up into this. And it all depends on you. On you. May it be so.